Yo, what's up? It's Jesse from How to Drum and Bass. And for those of you that watch this channel, you may have noticed that I've been gone for a little bit of time, and that was for a really good reason. But I am back, and I will be making an absolute ton of videos for you guys this month and next month. I've got so much exciting stuff and cool tutorials and great sounds to share with you. It's gonna be super cool. Now, today, I wanna dive into the recreation of, I guess you would call it the lead sound, or maybe the lead bass from a song by Freaks and Geeks, who, by the way, are absolutely awesome, and which I recently found out of. Actually, they are a pairing of two really cool people. One of them is half of Rocksonics, which, if you're a little bit of a raver from like the 90s, that's probably the first sort of dubstep that you ever listened to, which was super epic. And the other guy is Dr. P. So they're basically two like melodic dubstep and dubstep producers that just started producing drum and bass, and it's going really well for them. So yeah, without further ado, today I want to talk about Waiting for You, which I've had on repeat for the last eternity. And it's got that super suspicious but also romantic and nostalgic sort of sawtooth lead under it that seems really suppressed, but at the same time seems to release a lot of emotion. And I figured I really wanted to check out how to recreate that. So I did, and I want to share it with you guys today for this comeback video, because I haven't made any videos in like 2 months. So we're gonna dive straight into that, but first I want to tell you really quickly where I've been all this time, because it's actually really exciting. So my main mission with this channel and with the brand How to Drum and Bass is to help more people create awesome drum and bass, and I hope I'm already doing that with all the videos that I put on my channel, but I've always planned to take it a step further. And so what I did is I went to loads of drum and bass producers and I asked them, what is the #1 thing that's holding you back from being a great producer? And the answer unequivocally was sound design. And that makes sense, because drum and bass is full of super heavy sound design. Even when it's not heavy basses, even if it's just leads, there's a lot of sound design knowledge in there. And you know, it's really hard to get started. And I also realized that specific knowledge about drum and bass sound design was missing from this ecosystem of like online tutorials and courses that currently exist. So I spent the last 2 months recording the very first How to Drum and Bass online course. It's called Drum and Bass Sound Design Mastery, and it's over 150 videos and more than 14 hours of content about sound design specifically for drum and bass music. I don't want to turn this into any kind of promotional video, so what I'm going to do, if you're interested in checking that out and learning how you can become a master at drum and bass sound design, then I'm just going to leave a link in the description and you can go and check that out. And not only that, I will be giving away one full copy of the deluxe package of the course that contains all 6 bonuses, including track feedback by me and a Serum preset pack with over 100 samples. I'm gonna give that away to one person that leaves a comment under this video. So comment something down below and I'll pick the winner at random in one of the next videos. And if you watch till the end of this video, I also have a special surprise for you that you really don't wanna miss. Okay, enough talk. Let's dive into the sound. All right, so let's hear really quickly what the original sounds like. Really cool. So this is what we managed to recreate, and I'll play it back and forth with the original so you can hear that it's pretty accurate actually. Pretty damn close. All right, so let's have a look at what we're gonna do. So the end result looks a little something like this. This is the strategy that we're going to get. We're gonna get 2 saw waves that have a little bit more dynamics than a normal saw wave, or at least a little bit more distortion. And those are gonna form sort of the thin upper layer, or not necessarily thin, but not that wide. And then we're gonna use the sub on a regular saw wave to create a more stable bass, something that's gonna give it a lot more body. And you'll hear in the rest of this video also the difference and why that's a good idea. But most notably, what we wanna do is we wanna create this this wow, wow feeling. And there's a special little trick with the filter here, which we're gonna dive into, where 2 notches, a notch and a peak, are gonna move towards each other. And then we're gonna have a shape like this that is just basically going to also make that wow sound. And the last notable thing is that we're going to control what comes out of all of this with a band pass filter. That's also going to make a really big difference. So those are the things to watch out for. That's what's going to shape the sound. Now let's get into recreating this step by step. All right, so I've got a new channel here called Recreation. The notes are still there, and as you can see here in the bottom, some of the post-production stuff is still here, but it's all turned off. I'm just keeping this here so that I'm reminded of all the stuff we have to do. So let's start with just applying Serum. we actually want to go and grab a different type of saw wave. So I want to have oscillator A and B both activated. And what I'm going to do is I have the wavetables from, I think it's Massive, but I'm not quite sure. So what I'll do is I'll include this wavetable in the preset download link below. But what I'm going to grab is a poly saw. And the reason for that is I want this. I want this sort of repeating saw. It's just going to sound a little bit different. It's going to have more upper harmonics. So that's what I want. But I am going to bring this wavetable position up so that it's slightly different. See? It's got one more. So it'll sound more full. And I want that same thing here. And there is a version of this wavetable in lots of different wavetables from Serum, which, by the way, in the Drum Bass Sound Design Academy, I give you away a whole list of all the free extra wavetables that you can find. So go check that out. For now, I want the same wavetables. What we're going to do is we're going to actually not change the octaves between these or anything like that. I want them to play the same thing, or actually roughly the same thing, because I want to make this wide. So one thing that you can do to make things wide is to mess around with two oscillators that are playing the same wave, but just to change some of the settings from the left and right panning. So we're going to change this one slightly to the left and this one slightly to the right. And then one of them is going to have plus a couple of fine and the other one minus. Something, yeah, like that. It doesn't really matter. You can kind of play around with that and see what sounds nice. But this is going to change the channel in the right ear and the channel in the left ear, so it's going to sound wider. Now, on top of that, I want them to play a slightly different waveform so that we have the perception of stereo sound even more. So maybe something like this, possibly something like this. I think something like that, because we want to have a little bit of a darker timbre to it for later. So this is our starting position. Now, lastly, I also want to add some unison to this, just to give it more voices so that it becomes a even wider sound. And I can give them two different types of voices as well. So we're gonna not put the detune all that high. We want it to be different, but we don't want it to get that sort of droning, re-spacey type sound. Yeah, we're gonna also slightly differ these detune knobs, once again, just to have the difference between the right and the left ear. And then the first thing that we're gonna do is we're going to draw a shape to do the first shaping of the sound. Now, the wow sound is something like this, but then with rounded edges. So here. And this point, you can drag it around. It's going to determine how fast that first portion goes. So it's either going to be wow or wow. That's the best way I can explain it. So I think we probably want to put it somewhere here. And this slope is going to determine how elongated this sound is. So if it goes wow or wow, and actually for this it's quite long, so let's try something like this. Okay, let's start with this. We can always adjust it, and we're going to start putting this on the level. That's the first thing we want to do. We want to control the actual shape of the sound with the volume, because that's going to give us already something nice. And of course we need to put this on trigger mode or envelope mode, whatever. Cool. Now we're going to create the wow vowel properties, the stuff that's really going to make it sound like someone's actually saying wow. And there's a really cool way that we can do this. So we go to the BN, and basically this is a bandpass filter that also has a notch. And what we can do is we can automate this notch, and that means that these two peaks, so this one and this one, are going to move towards each other. And that, when two things are moving towards each other, is always a yoy or a wow or something like that. So we can do that with this shape as well. We can let this one move that way and sort of maybe go here. And we'll check whether that's good or not in a minute. And we can do the same thing with this frequency, except we probably want it to do something like this. And now you'll see the movement. All right, actually, we probably want to put this down an octave or so, because we still have, we picked a high note here. Better. Nice. Let's see how that goes. And of course, we want to make the filter apply to B as well. All right, that's going well. And we're gonna take off those highs that that you hear right now, which are a little bit harsh, in a minute. But first, we wanna probably add some drive here, and you want to add a little bit of resonance, because that's gonna also increase this wow feeling. So let's put it somewhere here, and let's see how we go. All right, next, just some housekeeping. It's just some stuff that we can add that is not necessarily that interesting, but that's just going to add a little bit of character to it. So we want to add some hyperdimension, just some extra voices on top of all of this. And we probably want to turn the mix down here a little bit. And the detail here as well, so that it doesn't get too phasey. And we can probably turn the dimension up a little bit. So the dimension creates another delay, right? But sometimes it starts interfering. Almost giving like a slap delay kind of thing. All right, then of course we want to add some distortion just to add some drive to it and add some harmonics to the sound. And we want to actually decrease the mix of this a little bit, so that we don't get that harshness that goes pretty quickly actually with this particular sound, I've noticed. All right, now let's add a compressor here, which we're not really going to touch now, but we can use later to give it some more volume. And then we're going to grab a filter that's going to further shape the sound into what we need it to be. So what I want is I actually only want a part of these frequencies. And we can use not a high, but a band filter for that, which is essentially the same thing as this little part here, except it's going to sweep back and forth, right? And I also want that to sweep. So we're going to automate that with the same shape that we've made. And I want it to sweep roughly from here to there. Let's turn up the resonance. And you can hear that we're really getting, whoa, that nice round sound now. Let's turn up the drive as well a bit. All right, now let's add the sauce. Let us add the reverb. And let's put the mix up quite a bit, like maybe 30%. Let's see how that sounds. All right, and actually I think we can just go back that octave now on both oscillators. All right, we have the thin top layer that we were talking about earlier. Now we're gonna add in the sub, and the sub is gonna give it all the juice. So we're gonna go for a saw wave here. We do not want to put it on direct out, and let's top this level up. Nice, so that's actually pretty much already it, and I think we got the shape quite nicely. I think the shape is really nice, so we could make it longer as well with a longer attack, right? But I think that is just nice and snappy enough. So what we did here is we created a really nice tonal layer here with these poly saws, and then we're letting the rest get dictated by a really simple saw. So that's going to give it like a solid, nice harmonic bass, but we get a sort of crunchy top end that is also completely stereo, and so like it gives the listener a feeling of more fullness to the sound. Because that's what the sub by itself would be, and this is what it adds to it. So let's see about the level here, if it's loud enough. So we can actually probably get away with that. However, what I want to do is I want to not add this reverb, because we want to do some post-production. And a problem with Serum and reverb is, first of all, the Serum reverb to my ears doesn't really sound that great. But second of all, I want to also add some delay, and you always want to add that, and some compression possibly. And you always want to add reverb at the end of everything that still changes the sound pretty much, like EQs and like delays and etc. The reverb is one of the end of the chain things, so we're going to add that later. So here I have a couple of devices that we're going to do some stuff with. This we actually don't need. And so let's start actually first with something that's going to be somewhere at the end of your chain. None of this here is necessary, so this would be literally the end of the chain. And I'm using EOS Audio Damage, which I just think is a really good reverb. It just sounds really nice. I'm using it on the monoplate option, and I wanted to go for short decay because it's not really that trailing of a sound. It stays deep basically, and yeah, just a modest mix of something like 20%. The rest all stock settings, and that's just going to make it sound a lot nicer, I think. Gives it a lot more juice, I think. So then the next thing, what we can actually do, I really like the delay effect in Serum, because it has that little filter that you can move up and down. So we can actually just add a Serum effects. If you don't know about Serum effects, you should go and check out my Serum mastery course that's available in the link below, because it will teach you all about that. But really quickly, it's just a version of Serum where you can add effects. So I've got that here. I'm gonna turn it on, and that actually means that we can just select this delay, and we can put that in the process later in the chain, right? So rather than having it here, we can have it after Serum, but before this reverb. So that's really nice. So yeah, we're just gonna put a delay. We're gonna put that filter like smack in the center right here so that we don't get those outer sides on the delay. And I wanna still create a difference between the left and the right here by giving them different rates. So that's gonna give it this. Just gonna fill it up a little bit more. Let's say another thing that we want to do is we want to do some surgical EQing to make it more like what we're hearing in the song. So we just want to cut off those harsh tops, and we want to cut off anything here so that we can make room for a sub bass, right? Because that's what we would probably put under here to some degree. Cool. And then if you did want to have some sort of distortion there, what you could do is you could add an overdrive. Maybe just in the top end right there. And then finally, what you could do is you could maybe try to compress the sound. Once again, I don't really think that it's necessary, but you can do it. So you can grab a compressor. But what you hear is that the sound actually starts clipping a lot. There are some things that you can do in post-production, but it's almost not necessary. And so finally, what you might want to do is you might want to adjust this band frequency here and play around with the resonance here on this band filter and the resonance that we picked in these filters earlier. Why I'm saying that is because they are what gives the sweeping effect, and you have to kind of blend that to taste. So I've adjusted it now. Let's see how it sounds. Versus earlier when we had a lot more of those highs. You can hear that sweep away more audibly, and that's not really what we want. So and yeah, there we have the sound. Very nice. Alright guys, that was the video. I hope me moving up and down during the video was not too annoying, because my chair actually broke halfway through, so I hope you enjoyed that. And since you stayed till the end of the video, I got a little surprise for you. So we are in the pre-launch stages of the drum and bass sound design mastery course. What that means is it's not entirely finished, but you can already pre-order it and you'll get a super special discount. As a matter of fact, it's gonna be a whole whopping 50% off. What that means is you can buy the course now and you can already get access to what is there, but it's gonna take us about a week or so to make everything look nice, to get all of the content in there, and to add all the goodies and all the stuff that's gonna make the course like a proper product before we launch officially. You can get 50% discount now if you buy early access, and you'll already get access to everything that's there now, and you just have to wait a little bit for the course to be complete. If you're interested in that, then check out the link in the description, where I will have posted the link to the product page and the discount code for you to use. This is only going to be valid for a couple of days, so you got to be really quick, because when the official launch is here, that discount is not valid anymore, so be quick. If you love learning about drum and bass and you've enjoyed some of my videos, or even if you're here for the first time, hit that subscribe button, press that like. I know every YouTuber asks you to do that and you probably don't do it, but it would help me out massively to make more content for you. All right, anyway.